Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
Well, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired. Because of Google Cloud Architect program,
I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glowcloud team.
All right, welcome everybody to another Cloud Career Q&A session from us here at Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson. I am the Chief Operating Officer here, and we come on YouTube every week to answer your questions about cloud computing careers, cloud architect careers, cloud engineer careers, cloud architect training, cloud computing training, anything and everything about cloud computing careers, and in particular, cloud architect or solutions architect careers. So if you want to know how to get your first cloud architect job, or what is a cloud architect, or what is a solution architect, or you want to know more about your specific career development path, that's what we're here for. So I just want to give everyone a brief introduction. The team on this call has over 50 years of leadership experience, and we're here to help you. And we want to help you build your best technology career. So first, we've got Mike, our founder and CEO. He has been in tech for 25 years and has held elite architect positions for 2 decades as a network architect, an enterprise architect, a cloud architect, and business architect. And then we've got Alonzo, our chief marketing officer, an expert on marketing, branding, strategy, and leadership. And he has over 30 years of experience with major global organizations and has led major cloud projects. He helps our students build that elite brand that makes the world come to them. And then we've got me. I've already introduced myself. I am the Chief Operating Officer here. My name is Chris Johnson. I have nearly 15 years of HR and corporate leadership experience. So as I say every time, we're here to help you. We all hold MBAs and have the skills from our extensive careers to help you not only get hired, but put you on your path to long-term career success. So don't dilly-dally around. Don't waste this time. Don't waste this opportunity. Ask your questions. It never fails. People always wait to ask their questions, and then we run out of time and we can't answer all the questions. So I see that there's 18 people right now watching. It's probably 20 by the time this gets to you, and then it's going to fluctuate some more. But nobody's asked any questions yet. So don't miss this opportunity to ask questions. Mike, by himself, has built such a reputation and is in such high demand from helping people build their careers that it costs $1,200 an hour to speak with him. And the wait list to speak to him is over 4 months long at this point. So don't waste your opportunity. So the first question is a good one. I like that question. We'll get to that one in a second. But I need some more questions to get to after that first question. So ask your questions. Don't wait. Don't miss this opportunity. We're going to be here for about an hour, maybe a little longer, depending on how the schedules go. But we block out an hour at the very least to take your questions. So before we get to the questions, a couple of things I want to remind everybody about, point people out to, let you know about something new. I want to tell you all about our Cloud Architect Career webinar that we do on Thursdays. This Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be doing a How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, where we tell you how to get your first cloud architect job. We tell you what hiring managers are looking for. We tell you what the cloud architect actually does. We talk about the experience and what type of experience matters. And guess what? You don't have to have tech experience. So if you want to get your first cloud architect job or first solutions architect job, make sure to join us on that. It's completely free. We'll share with you how we do it, how you can do it on your own, if you choose to do it on your own. But make sure you register for that and join up for that and take advantage of that free information. Next thing I want to remind everybody about is that we have our discount countdown going on just for a little bit longer. It's still available for 60% off. And once that 60% is gone, it is gone. It's the last time that our program will ever be available for less than $1,000. Regular price for the program is $24.99. Right now, we've got a 60% discount to make it as close to $1,000 as possible. We got to $99.60 with a 60% discount. So make sure to take advantage of that. That comes with 500 hours worth of on-demand content. comes with access to 3 live classes per week for an entire year. So that's 150 live classes for an entire year for less than $1,000. The average cloud architect earns, I think it's almost up to exactly $200,000 a year. We look at it every week, and it's going up a couple $100 every day. But the average cloud architect now earns roughly $200,000 a year. That's basically $800 a day. So every day that you delay reaching your career goal is potentially $800 in lost income. So every month is potentially $16,000 in lost income. So don't delay. Take advantage of that opportunity while it's available. Once that 60% is gone, it's gone. Next thing I want to remind everybody about is, let me see if I got it here. Yes, I do. Okay, so we have for pre-order, our Tech Interview Mastery Program. And for the first 20 enrollments in this new program, it's 35% off, plus 5 special group coaching sessions for just those 25 people, live group coaching sessions. So this Tech Interview Mastery Program regularly will include a monthly coaching session and 3 private one-on-one consultations with our team of experts, plus all of the on-demand content to get you to win the interview. Not just to win the interview, but to get the resume to where it needs to be to get you the chance to win the interview. We cover everything that you need to know. Cover presence, executive presence, emotional intelligence, how to read the interviewer, how to control the interview, how to control yourself. Everything that people don't think about when they're trying to win the interview. We teach you negotiation, because a lot of people don't realize that the negotiation starts before you even send the resume. So we cover everything. Like I said, comes with 3 private one-on-one sessions with our team of experts, comes with a monthly coaching session. But for those first 20 people that order this new program, they'll get 35% off and 5 special coaching sessions just for those 20 people. So make sure to take advantage of that. You'll see the link in the description and in the chat box. So I've got all my new stuff out of the way, everybody. Mike, Alonzo, anything to say before we get to some questions?
Yeah, I'll kick it off, Chris, and then we'll go to Alonzo. So, welcome. Please ask questions. I try to do this twice per week, once on YouTube and once in a live webinar, because I know my availability is nothing, and unfortunately it costs a fortune to speak to me, because I can have one discussion with someone and literally get them a $50,000 to $100,000 raise, or help them solve a problem to really boost their career. And I want all of you to help you. You see, when I was younger, I spent $40,000 on tech training, and you know what? None of it was exactly what I needed to get started. And then I found a mentor, and the mentor really ushered me through my career. I was a principal architect within 2 years of the time I actually started working in technology. And I've got students every day that are getting hired, whether it was Roy, who just got a senior cloud architect job with Deloitte, with 0 tech background whatsoever. Great sales rep, but 0 tech background. Or whether it was Balwinder, who was a stay-at-home mom, or whether it was Jennifer, who was out there as a mental health tech that's now working as a solution architect. And I could give you example after example, but I want all you to know that you can all do anything you desire with the right training, the right mindset, the right focus, and doing the work. All of you can do it. And you could do it on your own, and we'll tell you how, or you could do it with us. It'll be a lot cheaper with us and a lot faster with us, but whatever the case may be, I just want you to build the career of your desire. And, Chris may have been babbling about our interview program. Let me babble about it for a minute for any reason, because I'm excited about it. Here's why
this is where Mike is passionate. Mike is passionate about this.
And here's why I'm so excited about the interview program. Because of the following reasons. When you're marginal for a job, and it's this person versus this person, the one with the better interview gets hired. To be able to get any jobs between $200,000 and $500,000, you've got to be a master at the interview, and anything less than perfection is just not optional, because especially in those jobs, you'll get 16 interviews. The other reason, I've coached people through an interview, and they've gotten $100,000 raises from their past job. And see, what you earn and the offer you get is not related to your experience. That's what people tell you when they don't know. What it's really related to is how much you make the hiring manager want you. If they want you so bad, they'll do almost anything for you. So I'm excited because normally it costs a fortune for me even get on my calendar, and it's 18 weeks to speak to me. But here I've got 3 interview experts, people from HR backgrounds, people that are directors in technology, people that have interviewed thousands of people. I've got them lined up and they're all excited to do coaching. One of them is even my executive coach, the person I go to and I need guidance. And I'm really excited and thrilled to have her on board. I've done 5,000 interviews, took $100,000 of leadership training post MBA, and all that's inside of this content. And not only do that, I literally read between 500 and 1,000 leadership books, at least 500 dedicated to the psychology of interviewing and leading an interview and selling yourself on an interview and building your brand. And of course, I got my buddy Alonzo, who's got 30 plus years in marketing, 32 years to help build people's brands. And our students generally don't even apply for jobs. The world comes to them because of the work we're doing with the branding. So anyway, I know I'm babbling about my program because I'm so excited. Chris put his 15 years of HR and leadership background. Alonzo put his 32. I put my 25, and I'm just super excited about it. So bear with me while I talk about it. But let me answer your questions because I want you all getting hard. Oh, let me go to Alonzo real quick.
I think you said it all, Mike. Yeah, let's jump into the questions. I'm sure that everyone has a lot of things that they want to get confirmation on so that they can start their careers. And I think all 3 of us are ready to answer those questions.
Yep. Before we get started, since we're just going to beat this home about the interview thing. But again, I just want to point out something that a lot of people don't realize. It's the interview gets you to the salary that you deserve. You know, if there's a salary range for every position, everywhere, every role. You see it at Walmart. You get the now hiring $12 to $17. Like, really, what's what's going to get you the difference between the 12 and the 17? Same thing for these senior roles, these executive roles, these cloud architect roles, the cloud engineer roles. Any role has a range, and what's going to get you to the top of the range is the interview. And what a lot of people don't realize is that's going to set the trajectory for everything after that. So if you have a role that's $100,000 to $150,000 and you start at 150, then the next role after that 150 is going to be starting higher than that. In theory, like in practice, if you keep moving up, you're going to keep moving up. If your starting point's 150, if your starting point's 100, then the next role is going to be going off of that starting point of 100 instead of that starting point of 150. Or at starting point of 200. So that's why we view the interview as so critical, because it's your starting point. It's the start. It's the start for your compensation package. Your revenue compensation is most likely going to be based off of percentages of your base pay. And so if your base pay is at the bottom of the range instead of the top of the range, everything just builds off of that. So I want to reiterate just that the importance of the interview. There's so many things that are tied to just that one thing, and that's why that's one of the many reasons why we made this program. All right, let's get to questions. Sorry, we're really excited about that. So, Jean says, "How are you doing?" I'm excited.
Great, Gene.
It's a Monday. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. I just had a chance to see my cat. She came to visit me. It's been a great day. I've been talking to some leadership today, and it's been fun. So I'm doing great, and I'm thrilled that you're here so we can help guide you.
Alonzo, how are you?
Doing awesome. Glad to be here. And we had a great time for the soft skills class and looking forward to helping others in the future.
All right. Next question. Still unknown. How important is AWS certification exam for getting a job?
Minimally still unknown.
Yeah.
So let me explain to you what a certification is. It's 2 things. It's teaching you familiarity with a vendor service. Now I can give you examples of people like Delroy Butt, who had 0 tech experience and 0 certifications, who got himself an incredible high-paying cloud security architect job. And he turned down 2 other offers when he had it. See, certifications are a name of a service and how to configure that. But here's what I want you to understand. ChatGPT can do everything that's taught in a certification and more. So what certifications are useful for is the following. First, you got to learn the technology. How does the technology work? Now in a certification, here's what they're going to do. They're going to give you one perspective in the world. All Azure, all Google, all AWS. But the reality is that's not life. The reality is you think you're going to take an AWS course and they're going to tell you about all these things. They're going to talk about their security solution, which you'll probably never use in your life because it's not enterprise grade. You'll be using next generation firewalls from somebody like Cisco or Palo Alto or Fortinet or Checkpoint. They'll be talking about, DynamoDB, but you can't use it because 81% of customers are multiple cloud, and you'll have to learn about Apache Cassandra or MongoDB. They'll be teaching you the lowest level training, is almost as if they're trying to turn you into a hands-on tech, like a technician, and not an engineer or an architect. But here's what it's useful. Once you learn the skills for the job, which we teach, but you can learn them in a lot of different ways. And the job skills are different for every job. An architect, an engineer, a DevOps engineer, all critically different jobs, and you can't train for all three at the same time. You must know which one you want, and if you tell us which one you want, we can tell you the desired skills for this job. So after you build the skills, it's kind of like the icing on the cake. So you, the person, your communication skills, your leadership skills, your technical knowledge, your business acumen, your design knowledge, your engineering knowledge, your performance tuning knowledge, that's the cake. And after that, you put icing on the cake and it looks better. So realistically speaking, still unknown, I don't know your background, but I will tell you that I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, including certified solution architect professional, and not a single one of them had the ability to be hired unless they had other training somewhere else. So for example, if you've been a network engineer for 10 years and you want to be a cloud engineer and you pass the certified solution architect associate or professional, sure, you can get hired. But if the only thing you taught is that exam, you can't be hired because you're lacking the competency. So if you tell us which job you want, and if you tell us your starting point, like I am a network engineer, or I am a software engineer, or guess what? It could be I'm a coach, a sporting coach, because that would be some useful skills we could pull out of there. Or I even serve food. And again, we can figure out what your background is. It doesn't matter if you're a nurse. I used to be a nurse practitioner practicing internal medicine. So the key is if you can tell us your starting point and your ultimate goal. Okay, so there's that. No, so architect in Australia. We recently got an architect hired in Australia for about $300,000 a year. Fresh solution architect, probably about $200,000 a year. For some reason in Australia, the government seems to pay fairly well compared to other jobs. And we also got someone hired recently that had no architecture experience whatsoever. Now, the key to remember as an architect is it's not what's taught in certifications. What's taught in a certification is the name of a service and how to configure that service. Now, still unknown, architects don't configure anything. Here's the life of an architect. And we can produce some videos that you can see on our video, some of the people we got hired with zero experience. The architect, like me, goes and meets the CEO or the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, the Chief Technology Officer, and I ask them, could you tell me about your business? What are your business goals? What are your pain points? What are your business challenges? Now, for that to occur, I need to have executive communication skills and understand business. None of that is covered in the certification, which is why we have our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Now, at that point, after I do this, I then need to bring in a team of 5 to 50 cloud engineers to baseline the organization systems, to figure out what they've got. Now, to do that, I've got to go back to my company and I've got to say, I need these people. And in order to do that, you have to build a business case to your employer that says, these 50 people that each cost 150,000 Australian dollars, I'm going to need them for 6 months. Here's the business justification of why I need them. Then once you sell your internal manager to give you the people, now you got a team of 5 to 50 people that you've got to go manage. So you need extremely good leadership skills. Then you put the 50 people together, you create your architecture. Architecture is a team sport. Then you document your architecture, which means you need executive writing skills as well as technical writing skills. Then you go back to the customer, you present the architecture to the customer, and then you negotiate a business deal with the sales team. So that's the business part of this job, which is not covered in certifications. But we'll tell you how to get hired. It's no big deal. We know exactly what to do. We get people hired every day. Beyond that, you need to understand how to design. And what's covered in the Certified Solution Architect Professional, to be fair, it doesn't teach you any design. It's the name of the service and how to configure it. So what are you actually designing? In 81% of cases, it's going to be a multi-cloud architecture, which means you're going to be using multiple clouds, which means you can't use any of the proprietary things. So what must you know? From the networking side, you must know BGP, IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting, IP address planning, switching technologies such as VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, bundling links such as link aggregation groups, port channel, ether channel, those kind of things. You're going to also need to be very, very good with network layer security. And from there, you'll need to know DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy, ARP, and those kind of things. And NAT. And not the NAT that they teach in the AWS Advanced Networking. That's nothing. We're talking one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT, and when you're going to need it because you're going to be using these things everywhere. Now, on top of that, you need to understand the data center, because what do we deal with as network and data centers? That means virtual machines and containers, storage area networks, not how to configure them. We don't touch the tech. How to design them, such as block storage, object storage, file storage. Then you're going to need to know relational and non-relational databases, NoSQL databases, and how to tune them. And you won't be using DynamoDB or Amazon Aurora in most cases because they don't work multi-cloud. So you're going to have to learn how this is going to go. And then from there, you're going to need to know security, next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, and those types of things. So those are the things you need to learn, and those are the kind of things that we teach in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So I would either take our training, and you can get it, or make sure you get some training from Cisco, some training from Microsoft on the business applications. Get an MBA program to learn the business things we're talking about. Then take some sales training, because that's not covered in your MBA training, and some additional leadership training. And quite frankly, after my MBA to become a really good architect, I took $100,000 of additional training. And that's why we have the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, because I take people that are certified, get them hired every single day. And it's super exciting to the rest of our team when we get people hired. But it's a great job. But that, now you know what's missing in the certifications. And whatever you do, do a DevOps certification, a SysOps certification, or a developer certification, because nobody wants a techie as an architect. They want a business executive that knows tech.
All right, so now I've got to go out of order so that I can give Mike a break from speaking, since Mike decided he wanted to defend a dissertation in that response. Let's see. Let's see. I think Alonzo can handle this one. I know I can handle this one. From Mo. Hello, guys. Thanks for a great webinar. Do we learn about automation during Cloud Architect class?
Well, Mo, this is what you'll learn about automation. Nothing. So it's easy. Basically, you hear a lot and you see a lot of organizations. They lay out this plethora of 600 years of development. You need prehistoric Terraform and Docker experience and all this other stuff. This is not applicable to a cloud architect. A cloud architect does three different things: design, presents, and sell. When it comes to cloud engineers, they do more of the focused, high detail building of said architectures that that architects actually design. So to your point, Mo, no automation is necessary because that's not what we do. You don't have to learn about scripting, bashing, Terraform, templating, or anything else regarding any of the coding. So don't worry about that. We focus on designing, presenting, and selling.
Okay, but let me add some clarification. We will teach in classes how you can use automation to improve business performance, because that's what architects do. For example, we may get into which artificial intelligence technology can an organization use to lay off a bunch of cloud engineers, because organizations come to architects to say, hey, there's this cool automation technology. How can we use it to generate revenue? How can we use it to lay off certain people that are expensive?
That's the key. You learn about the how. We teach about the how and the why, not the not the do.
Not the do. No.
Yeah.
No do.
But any kinds of automation, like hands-on automation, like Terraform, that's somebody else's job.
Yeah.
And that's where people go wrong. If you want to be an Olympic gymnast, you train for gymnastics. If you try and become a marathon runner and a swimmer, you don't become a good gymnast. You can become bad at all three. So our architect program is based on exactly how to be a world-class architect.
All right, and again, as a reminder, everybody, I'm just I'm maybe going a little bit out of order here because we're trying to balance out our speaking just because we speak so much, we have to balance ourselves out some. So if it seems like I may skip your question, it's only because I'm just trying to pace things up. All right, so let's see. Cameron says, would you recommend someone gets an associate architect role to get their feet wet in the industry if they do not have any experience? I'm going to start this one off and then let Mike chip in. This isn't like the military. You don't move up in ranks. If you want to be an architect, you get an architect role. Now, if you come across an associate architect role and that happens to be the one that you like and the one that fits with you, then take it. But don't. That's not your target. Your target is cloud architect, or solutions architect, or senior architect, or your goal is architect without any caveats, without any adjectives to seemingly diminish the role. Just like alternatively, you don't start at help desk to get to another role. You do help desk because you want to do help desk. You want to do support. You don't start at engineering to become an architect. You do engineering because you want to do engineering. So the associate architect role, while they're there, that shouldn't be a goal to get to a goal.
No.
If you do take an associate architect role, you take it because it's available, it's a good fit, it matches for you, it works, everything lines up, and boom, you got a job. But it's not your goal. Your goal is to get an architect job and take an architect job, whatever architect job that might be, and whatever works best for you. But I'll let Mike talk more about it.
Well, and
first, he's got more insight than I do.
First, you should never start at an associate role, and I'll tell you what an associate role is. Most people don't understand. An associate role is you're in college, and you look like a smart kid. You got good grades, and a company hires you with no knowledge of anything and no experience, and they pay you to train you. And they train you a relatively good salary, about $100,000 a year. And if you don't become an architect in 6 months to a year, you get fired, start a YouTube channel, a TikTok page, or do something like that, or look for a new career. That's not your goal. Last week, we had Roy, who got a senior architect job at Deloitte. So here's the thing. By getting a senior job as opposed to an initial job, we can have somebody start $50,000 to $100,000 higher or more. So instead of starting at the bottom and trying to hope you can build a name for yourself, and it may not even work out, because if they don't like you in training, you're gone, as opposed to an actual architect job where you're going to be there. If you start at $50,000 to $100,000 a year higher, guess what? That's going to impact you for the rest of your life, because your first job will be $150, say, and your next job will be $250, and your job after that will be $350. But if you start at $100, you're going to have to get bumped up to $150, and that's going to take you there. The second thing why you don't want to do this is in the military, they have a term called FNG, which basically means something new guy. When you get hired as an associate, everybody sees you as the new and incompetent person. So you're going to have to fight for the world to see you as competent. So Cameron, train to be the best. Go out there and be the best. And don't let anything hold you back. I wouldn't want to get hired as a junior airplane pilot. I'd get hired as an airplane pilot. I would train to be the best. If I wanted to be a football player, I would train with the world's best strength and conditioning and football coaches so that I could play in the NFL if my genetics were good enough and I could do it. I wouldn't try to play in a junior level. So I don't want you to hold back. I want you to be great. I want you to be elite. I want you to earn more, have a better life, and a better career potential. That's what I want for you. So please don't try to start at the bottom.
Right.
Try to start at the top. And by the way, Cameron, if you're not great at something, the company can send you to training. A company like Cisco or Amazon won't even blink at sending you to $10,000 to $20,000 a year dollars of training. It's nothing for them. And if you join a consulting company, they'll have 3 to 6 months of training before you even get the work, because they want you to pay. How about you, Alonzo?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, you keep laying it out, Mike. So you put in a lot of detail in those answers. So all I can say is that go for what you really want, Cameron. You don't hope to say, for instance, you have a goal, but you don't, if you're looking for a 10, then why are you aiming for an 8? Make sure that what you want is what you're working for, because I think subconsciously maybe you're thinking that, okay, I don't have the experience, I don't have what it takes, let me get as close as I can to my goal, and then I can hopefully work my way up once I have what I assume that I need to be successful as a cloud architect. You get your training here right now, Cameron. There's plenty of examples. We have dozens of examples of people who did not have any prior architectural experience, and they're living well beyond their goals. They're living well beyond what they ever thought possible. So aim for what you want, Cameron. There's a thing that they say about when it comes to fashion: dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. And it's the same thing with your mentality. So go for it, man. Go for it, and you'll be able to get your dreams, and you can get them here, and we'll be happy to help you.
So as a follow-up, Vernon's got a question here, and I'm going to circle back and respond to this again. So would trying to go for the Google Cloud Associate Cloud Engineer, would it be bad in that case too, in reference to the previous question asked? So the point, at least that I'm trying to make, is that your goal should be cloud engineer. Now, just as you might apply or attempt to communicate with hiring managers and recruiters for a role at Google or Microsoft or Deloitte or KPMG, Google, it's not bad to go for the role. It's not bad to apply for the role. You should apply. You should utilize every opportunity, especially if you're in a position where you need to be employed. If you need to be employed, it's not bad to go for a role. Well, what the point that I'm trying to make, and I think Mike and Alonzo try to make here, is that shouldn't be the end game. That should not be the target. That should be part of the entire. Like, your target should be to get a cloud engineer role, and as part of your goal to get a cloud engineer role, if the opportunity of Google Cloud Associate Cloud Engineer presents itself, then that is a good opportunity. But that should not be the goal. The goal should be bigger than that. The goal should not be to get a Google Cloud Associate Cloud Engineer. Just like the goal should not be to become an AWS Cloud Architect. No, the goal should be to become a cloud architect. If I happen to get it at AWS, great. If I happen to get it at Deloitte, great. If I happen to get it at Capgemini, great. If I get it at JP Morgan Chase, great. So it's not bad. It's just, I would say it's bad to target just that.
Oh yeah, terrible.
That's the point that we're trying to get across. Don't target that role unless you've got some insider knowledge and some inside scoop to get to that position, and you know you want that position, and you got the direct line to it, and you know exactly what they're looking for, then maybe target it. But that should not be your target. Your target should be the cloud engineer. And if that's the opportunity that presents itself, then take it.
And even still, oh, sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, I was just saying, like, just don't zero in on a specific role at a specific company in a specific department. That's what we're saying is to steer away from.
And Vernon, don't start with Google. That'd probably be the last thing I would ever do. I would go out there and I would look for banks. I would look at Microsoft. I would look at AWS. I would look at Google. I would look at the big four consulting companies. Who can I get a real cloud engineer job from? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a lot easier. There was one year, it was about 10 years ago, where the average bonus at Goldman Sachs was $600,000 to every employee that was there. And somebody's got it in their mind, I got to go work for Google. No, go out there. It's a giant industry. See who will give you the best first job. And it's not going to be Google. In most cases, it won't be them. So go out there and look at these really great companies and get a cloud engineer job. And get a $140,000 cloud engineer job and work there for a year, and then a year or two. And then at that point, you got two options: develop your business acumen, your leadership, executive communication skills, and get a $300,000 distinguished engineer job. Or if you want to stay PR techie, that's fine too. Then go to Google as a senior engineer and get paid $250. But the point is don't try to start at the bottom. Start as high as you possibly can. You want to be an airplane pilot, don't get a job as a flight attendant first and hope you're going to learn to fly. Get yourself something great. Don't think of the cloud providers as your be-all and end-all. They're, in many cases, the last three you should be looking at. There are many greater companies to work for. Many of them.
All right. So this question, definitely not for me. How can we switch from L2 Linux support to AWS engineer?
Well, it's just a matter of learning the right skills. Now, at L2 Linux support, the question is, how good are your Linux skills? I know you're good at troubleshooting, but let's pretend they're good. Assume they are. Assume you're good with patching kernels. Assume you're good at hardening operating systems and removing packages and building them from scratch. Now it's just the rest of the things. You probably know how to write a bash shell script already, I would assume. And then after that, you'd have to learn how to write a Python script. Again, this is really basic stuff. And then you'd have to learn some infrastructure as code, such as Terraform, not any of the silly CloudFormation templates, because nobody uses it in a multi-cloud. And then, again, not an AWS engineer. You want to be a cloud engineer. AWS probably isn't hiring engineers right now, and they probably won't be hiring them for 6 months to a year or two. They'll be hiring architects because architects bring in business, and engineers are getting laid off right now. So you can be an engineer, but not AWS. You got to be a cloud engineer. You got to be able to work on AWS, Azure, Google, Microsoft. You got to be able to work for a consulting company that uses all our banks. So the key is first, learn the cloud. That's all those networking and data center technology we talked about, from everything from BGP to IP addressing and subnet planning. Then learn the data center, storage area networks, how they work, not just how to tune them. And then learn things like virtual machines and containers. And you probably have some experience with KVM virtualization if you've got some Linux background. But get used to the hypervisors that are out there. Get used to the databases that are out there. Get used to the security things and really master those things. And then you're going to have to tune your resume, because you're going to have to look like a cloud engineer. Otherwise, you won't get interviews. Then I'd probably get some solid interview training along the way, because when you're changing careers, it was like when I left internal medicine for tech. You got to show them that you're more. Support's something that's generally hard to get out of, which is why I'm giving you this guidance. And the reason is some support people are truly, truly amazing. But they're not the kind of people that people typically think of as strong engineers, because what happens is you call level 1 and you get the level 1 support, and a lot of that's pretty rough. And sometimes level 2 is good and sometimes level 3 is good. And you could be really great. And I work with some incredible support people on it. Some of them are the best people I've ever seen, but it's not on the hiring manager's wish list of things. So make sure you go out there and build the perfect resume and build the perfect LinkedIn profile and do brand building activities so the world comes to you. Learn those cloud foundational things which apply to all clouds, and then go look for a great cloud engineer job. Look at AWS, Azure, Microsoft, Google. Look at big retailers like Best Buy and Target. Look at the big banks. Look at the consulting companies, and you'll get yourself a great cloud engineering job, and you'll love it too. But you can't limit yourself to one vendor. 81% of companies use more than one cloud, and if you think you can get a career in just AWS, you can't. You have to know that cloud. It's like trying to say, I'm going to get a driver's license for a Honda, and then go to rent a car and say, uh-oh, they got a Toyota. Uh-oh, they got a Chevy. You'll be in trouble.
All right. Juan asked, hello guys, do you have some good books about business jargon? Or those are one of the things you can't learn from reading? So let's start with Alonzo and see what Alonzo says about that.
Well, Juan, no, you can learn, but why would you want to learn? I think the quickest thing that executives want to know, they want to know everything about something as quickly as possible. So when you start adding on all this fluff on top of what they want to know, it distracts from the discussion, and it blurs the overall vision. So just focus on learning what you need to learn about what executives want, okay? And not focus on the jargon, okay? Just understand what the tech is, what it does, and when you would use it, and break it down into something a 6-year-old wouldn't be able to understand. Because at the end of the day, C-suite, they want to know about business transformation. They don't want to know all of these detailed buzzwords, which quite honestly would probably annoy them. So stay focused on what their questions, what their asks are, and give it and deliver it to them in the most succinct and easy way possible. So, to my point, eliminate the business jargon and just focus on the job skills. What about you, Mike and Chris?
Here's the rule: no jargon ever. I led a council when I was at Cisco of C-level executives. And I had just finished my MBA and I was all proud and I was using all these business terms. And here's what the room looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to this. Now, Francis, my good friend and executive coach, was in the room. And I said, Francis, what happened? I don't feel like they're into it. And she says to me, Michael, can I send you a book? The book was called Why Business People Speak Like Idiots. And it was about not using jargon ever. Next day I gave a presentation, but she coached me what to do without the jargon. They were in it, they were excited, they were lively. No jargon ever. And if you use jargon as an architect with an executive, they will kick you out of the room. So improve your business knowledge, but you can't use jargon. If you use jargon, your career is over. So please don't learn it.
Well, it depends on what you're classifying as jargon. To some people, return on investment can be jargon. That's a business term. So to some people that have not been exposed to business like the rest of us, that return on investment would be considered a piece of business jargon. So it depends on what he's classifying as business jargon. I think that's actually a pretty good question.
I could see that. No, Juan, you're in our course. There's lots of things which talk about return on investments and business cases. And we talk about a lot of the business things that are necessary. Yeah. Otherwise, get an MBA. You can get an MBA too.
But you answered your question. That's not something that you can learn from a book.
No.
No.
So just from my thinking, because I had a phone call. I had a phone call with my dad yesterday about stuff, and I realized, like, in the middle of the conversation, I don't know, it just hit me. I was like, some of these people around me probably have no idea what I'm saying, because I'm standing in Five Guys Burgers, and I'm like, these people probably have no idea what I'm saying. But he and I were just talking about business, because he's a business professor of 40 years, and so that's the only reason I'm thinking maybe he's talking about things that the people in the executive suite would actually consider normal language.
And I guess, Chris, it depends on if it's conversational, it's as a presentation, because it'll be the difference between them being all in versus that old Charlie Brown teacher wah example, right, where they're not getting it, it's going through one ear out the other. So I think from a presentation standpoint, simplicity is key. But if you're speaking to, say, for instance, a distinguished engineer or a CEO on understanding something personally, and you all are exchanging conversation, that could be an excuse or something, outside.
That's going to be a place where they are going to throw those.
Yeah. And they're going to expect
specific terms out
right,
there.
Especially
and
when
if you've not been exposed to it, which is one of the things that we try to address with our classes and in our classes, because again, it's not something that you can learn in a book.
No.
You can't even learn it in an MBA program. I was asking my wife this morning, because I was telling her about what these new programs that we're working on, this new content we're creating, and she's like, "Oh, you mean the practical explanation and usage of all that stuff that I learned in college?" And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly." And she's like, "Okay, so everything that I've learned over the past 10 years of actually working, you're boiling it down and putting it into a program." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we're doing." So
exactly.
Yeah. So that is and again, I could be completely off base here, but that's just if I think that's where you're going, that's what we try to address in our program with our in our live classes, especially. So, because you could give a book, but the book can never give you enough context to be able to know what's being talked about. So. Love to know, Juan, if you're still around. If I started barking up the right tree there, let me know. All right. What are the best virtualization projects to do in a home lab? Maybe something in Kubernetes that could translate well to public clouds. What's the goal? What's the career?
That's my question.
It all depends on the career that you're
Yeah.
interested in. Because if it's an architect, your project is going to be a design.
Yes.
If it's an engineer, then it's going to be what a lot of people think about when they think about projects. It's going to be configuration projects. So it depends on the career that you're interested in. And I don't think I've seen anything else in the chat box to indicate which career you're leaning towards. So if you let us know which career you're leaning towards, we can come back to that question. Let's see. Faisal had some nice words here. Hello, I'm in this program. Whoever is interested to join the program, a message to you is do not hesitate. This will be the best decision you'll make on your future. The program has everything. Thank you for those kind words.
Thank you, Faisal.
We work very, very hard to put together something that is beneficial for everyone in our program. So I thank you for acknowledging that and recognizing that. Oh, here's a good one. Can I do the study on Go Cloud in English and then master an interview in German?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. And we've
Same
got people that do it all the time.
Yeah. Same things apply. Gravitas is important. Presence is important. Controlling the interview is important. Reading people is important. Now, coming to the reading people, it may be some little idiosyncrasies from culture to culture that we may not cover specifically, but that's very important that for you, if you're in certain European cultures, certain Asian cultures will be different than our American culture. So reading people will have a little bit of some idiosyncrasies, but everything else is same.
Yeah.
It's all applicable.
It's all applicable. And even on the reading people, there's the cultural differences versus the non-cultural differences. In this course, we cover a lot of the non-cultural differences that would work in any country in the world.
Yep.
And here's the reason. We know the neurology behind it because I used to practice internal medicine. And so we understand which parts of the body people have the least control of. And we can tell you what to actually look for to read the room. Now, in Italy, for example, people stand closer to each other than they do in Texas. And some of those things, when people smile or not, but we'll be able to teach you how to read a fake smile, which will work in any country in the entire world. We'll show you the gestures, which tells you to keep talking versus to stop talking, and that will work anywhere. So the minor subtle differences, there are some, but most of what we teach work in every country in the world. And that's why we've got people getting hired in India, Australia, South Africa, all over Europe, all over the Middle East, South America, and North America, everywhere.
All right. Okay, here's a clear one. Talking about projects again. You advise, what are some projects you advise for solution or cloud architects to boost their resume?
Okay, here we can answer this. So we'd advise you to do design projects. How would you design a bank with 25,000 remote locations, for example? That's a cloud project. How would you design a social media company from scratch? See, this is what we do. Now, you may want to build your own cloud because we have our students build their own cloud to show that you know what a cloud is. But I wouldn't be wasting my time setting S3 buckets. I wouldn't be doing projects on Git.
No.
And if you do these things, here's what's going to happen. And you put them down on your resume, the world's going to say, this person is not an architect. There's somebody else and I can't bring them in. So you got to look like a duck, walk like a duck, and talk like a duck. I mean, our students do massive design projects. They typically do 30 to 50. Between what we do and other projects we do in class, every class is effectively a design project. Maybe they do more than that. And then, of course, we do hands-on labs just to say it. But the only reason to ever do hands-on labs as an architect is so you can say you did it if anybody asked you. But it's a complete waste of your time to learn how to configure things as an architect when we design, present, and sell. So a real lab would be collecting information from somebody, doing requirements gathering like we make our students do, then asking the right technical questions to the technical team, then designing a solution, documenting the solution, and presenting the solution back, and even selling the solution back to an executive audience. That's what we do. That would be a real cloud architecture solution architect project that'll boost your resume. But just doing cloud labs and Git labs and Linux labs, that's not a cloud architect thing. So it's kind of like saying, if you wanted to fly a plane and be a pilot, and you started doing engine work on an airplane, then that would make you a better pilot, or anybody would be impressed by that. They wouldn't be. It's a different career.
All right. So what's your perspective of ChatGPT? Will it reduce employment, cloud engineering, cloud architect, DevOps, etc.?
Oh, Guillermo, I actually did a couple of videos on this. Cloud architects are going to be in big demand, and here's the reason why. Employers are already calling us saying, hey, how can we use this AI technology to improve our business performance? Now, architects, huge in demand. Why? Architects get involved in the executive communication, the leadership, the sales, the tying the people and processes and technology all together. Architect world, huge hiring related to ChatGPT. Cloud engineers, I'm telling people not to study cloud engineering, and here's the reason why. ChatGPT can code. ChatGPT can write a bash shell script, a Terraform script. ChatGPT can spit out the CLI to do anything on the cloud. And here's what ChatGPT is going to do. It's going to make 80% of the cloud engineers laid off, and it's going to make superstar engineers, and we're going to have real cheap technicians that use ChatGPT. So I would get out of DevOps. I would get out of cloud engineering. I'd start focusing on business transformation and digital transformation and cloud architecture or sales or leadership or anything where the humaning you makes you special. And that's what's so special about architects. An architect like Alonzo can walk into an organization, ask the executives what their needs are, from there figure out all the people processing technology they have, then figure out the ultimate end state, and then say, hey, guess what? With ChatGPT, we can get rid of 50% of your bloggers that are doing your search engine optimization. With ChatGPT, we can get rid of 30% of your engineers. And with that additional money, you'll be able to invest in this technology, which will drive your revenue by 10 to 12%, bringing an additional $2 billion of sales to you. That's what they're going to do. So that's what architects are going to need. But will this crush engineers? Yeah. We have a video that's coming out about why ChatGPT will kill hands-on only tech careers. So if you're an engineer, you can't be hands-on only anymore, or you'll be replaced by tech. If you're an engineer and you want to stay in engineering, focus on one area of expertise, develop your soft skills, communication skills, leadership skills, develop your presentation skills and your business acumen and become a distinguished engineer. Otherwise, the engineers are going to get laid off and the architects are getting hired. And the more advanced the technology, the more architects to design it, how it will be there. But the ChatGPT will kill hands-on engineering jobs. It's already starting to. That's why Microsoft laid off 10,000 engineers and at the same time invested $10 billion in ChatGPT. Imagine what they're going to be able to do and how many more engineers they're going to be laying off in the future.
All right. Let's see here. Is having an SAP enterprise architect skill related to being an enterprise architect like Wallace?
No, it has nothing to do with it.
No.
SAP's and ERP's enterprise resource planning tool. Wallace and enterprise architects are the entire business. So no, not at all. But if you understand how to architect SAP, we could take those skills, develop your business skills, your leadership skills, and your business acumen, understand the entire enterprise, everything from the security to the availability to the compute to the storage to the applications, and then you're an enterprise architect.
Earl says, what is the best path to get into cloud computing?
Well, the first thing I would tell you is I removed A+ certifications from everyone's resume, Net Plus and Security Plus. I have to remove them or nobody will take people seriously. The CCNA is just a networking certification, and Azure and AWS are just a certification, and it won't teach anything related to the job. So Earl, why don't you do this? Tell me the job you want, and then I can tell you how to get there. And here's the reason. Cloud computing is like the airport. Which plane should you jump on? I don't know. Do you want to go to Dubai? Do you want to go to Dublin, or do you want to go to Dallas? And only until I know your destination can I recommend which plane you get on. Now, if you tell me I want to go to Dallas, I'll say, okay, we got Superceller over there in Dallas. She's the best cloud architect tutor I know. I'm here, take a plane and go see her. But I need to know where you want to go. And I need to know which cloud career. Do you want to be a software engineer? Do you want to be a cloud engineer? Do you want to be a cloud architect? Do you want to be a cloud big data professional? Do you want to be a cloud DevOps person? All different careers, and they all need different studying. That's why doctors, nurses, physical therapists, and pharmacists don't go to the same program. So tell me where you'd like to go, and we'd love to get you there.
I'm going to go out of order here. Marcus on Marquise says, that's going to be so hard for me to remove the certs I have. I'm weird like that, though. Many may not mind. So so this is, I don't know you at all. I'm just basing this off of your response. This is where we have to swallow that humility pill.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be a little humble and take a step back and say, all right, am I invested in these certifications, or am I invested in myself? And because based off of those two back to back, that sounds like that's probably what it is. It's probably like, I've got so much invested in these. These mean a lot to me.
Right.
I did a lot to get these. Yeah, you're in the development program. Awesome. Yeah. Great. There's a recording with Arun. I'm going to, if you send me a message on Slack, direct message me on Slack, I'll find the link to the recording of Arun. Arun was much the same way. He really, really liked his certifications and really, really liked his stuff. But it was holding him back.
And it was really, really holding him back. Right. I was thinking the same thing.
But yeah, so just again, based off of your two comments, it sounded like that's where that was coming from. You've got the certifications, you've done the work. Now let's polish you up and get you in the right direction. So
bringing in the focus.
Yep. Yeah.
I had to do it too, Zex. I remember I had all these certifications on there, and I worked so hard, and I spent $40,000 on them. And I finally reached an executive level. And it was like, Mike, if you want that CCNP, CCDP, CISSP on there, this next job, you're not going to get it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, but I spent 40 grand plus. I'm like, Mike, you want the next $100,000 pay raise, or do you want this? Well, I dumped those certifications. I got a big raise, lots of stock grants, and it was the best thing I ever did. So, the key is you have to reflect what you want to be. When I go to a meeting, I wear a suit. I have to. If I go to the beach, I don't wear a suit.
All right. So Daniel asked, would it be advised to apply for apprenticeships for big companies? For example, if Cisco has an apprenticeship program, or is that like taking an associate role?
Daniel, I think there's two different things that we're talking about. If you don't have a job and someone's willing to pay you $60,000 to $100,000 while you're learning and training in our program, great, take it. We're saying that shouldn't be your goal.
Yep.
Your goal should be after the program or while you're in the program to get something better. But if you're not working and you've got a chance to get paid, take it.
Yep. So it's the equivalent of having your employer pay for your MBA. It's just a different. It's just saying it a different way. In this case, the Cisco, and I don't know, but I would assume the Cisco apprenticeship program would be comparable to. I'm a little bit more familiar with the Microsoft style ones. Getting into Microsoft has programs that they do like that, which are highly, highly competitive. And I know of two people that have gone through them, and that was like that just catapulted their opportunities. So.
And I know a lot about the Cisco apprenticeship program because I used to mentor people in that program. I can think of this 122-year-old. I really liked the kid. I mentored him. He was in that program for less than 6 months with my mentorship. Then he moved into a very, very good role. And then the company did a layoff. He had a 6-figure severance salary and got a $300,000 job within 2 weeks. He was a very good guy. He's actually over at Google these days. So the answer is yes, I'm very familiar with these things. And if you're not working, it's a great opportunity. I'm just saying it shouldn't be your goal. Your goal should be get the right training and get something. But if you're in the program, sure, do it.
Yeah. All right. Guillermo says, will WGU Bachelor of Science in Cloud Computing help me with becoming a cloud architect?
No.
No.
And I will also tell you, Guillermo, that we've retrained many of their graduates. And what I like about WGU is as follows. It gives you a 4-year degree, and it doesn't cost a lot. The problem is what they teach in that program is certifications and hands-on tech skills, which architects don't do. So we constantly retrain people from WGU.
And when oh, sorry. I was going to say, and when we say no, we're not saying that the information won't have any benefit. It's just going to have a small, very small piece compared to the outlay of the program, of what you put out for the program. So that's why we all immediately were like, no. But anyway, continue.
But I mean, having a degree is good if you don't have a degree.
Right.
And the price of $4,000 or $5,000 to get a degree there, we love.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a win. And you could do that, but you're still going to need architect training. And that's why we constantly retrain their graduates and their students. Because they're going to teach you how to write a Linux script or a Python script. You're never going to write a Python script in your entire life.
No.
So it's like having any degree. It doesn't matter if it's in nursing or if it's in psychology or if it's in chemistry. It's good to have a degree. So I can't say don't do it, but make sure you get the real training along the way because that will not give you anything there. And that's why we retrained so many of them. And we recently had one of the graduates that we retrained for about 1.5 years just get hired. And he was very successful, but it took 1.5 years of our retraining.
Yeah. But then, to be fair, he deviated from what we asked. So it was kind of like him having to take the same lessons over again twice.
All right. Let's see here. Mo says, what would be the right strategy for someone who has working experience as a network technician admin in order to transition straight into cloud architect role? How can we fill the experience gap on the resume?
You're going to need the following. You're going to need somebody to teach you architecture because admin and architectures are the exact opposite. So the first thing you're going to need is a good branding expert like Alonzo to teach you how not to look like an admin. Because here's what an architect is. The architect builds the design. The engineer thinks about performance tuning and how it's going to be built. And then they say, admin, go do this. So you're going to need a lot of branding to have people not think of you as an admin. Then since admins know how to configure stuff and architects don't configure things, you're going to have to learn how to design, which means you're going to have to learn every piece of the network in the data center. And here's the difference. A network admin might go to a Cisco router and type router BGP 65312, neighbor 192.168, remote AS 65313, network 10.0.0.0, mask 255.0.0.0. That's admin. Where the architect would be asked, how do I peer with 10 internet service providers and load share across all 10 without getting out of our packets? What do we need to do not to become a transit autonomous system? That's architecture. So they're so different. They don't even relate to each other. So you're going to need to learn the network and the data center from an architecture perspective, a how it works, not how to do it perspective. Then you're going to need to build your business acumen. You're going to need to build your leadership skills, your executive presence, your communication skills, your sales skills, your negotiation skills. So I recommend one of two things. Either take a program like ours or get good architecture training and get an MBA at the same time because you got to learn those business skills somewhere. But it's not easy to go from admin to architect. In fact, it's easier for me to take a sales rep that's never worked in tech before and turn them into an architect because at least they've got 50% of the business skills. But I've gotten a lot of admins hired many times. And the key is we got to start you from scratch. Teach you how things work and why you put them together versus how to do them. We don't do. We're kind of the strategists. So it's kind of like the CEO of a business that's designing the strategy. That's like the architect. He or she is not the frontline workers and doesn't think about what the frontline workers do. They think about how do we grow the business. So there's that. But you can definitely do it. You can just either get some training from us or get some architecture training from somebody. And then after your architecture training, I'll make sure you get the business acumen leadership. And that's how you do it. But it's not filling experience on the gap. You can't fill an experience that you don't have. You can have a branding expert like Alonzo, and to a lesser degree me, coach you on how to take the work that you've done as an admin. For example, you might have written a Python script to automate something. Guess what? You give this to me as an architect, I'm tearing the resume out. Now, if you say created a Python script, then increase the efficiency of the team by 7%, saving 2 full-time equivalents of work. Oh, now I'm interested. So the key is it's not filling in gaps. It's showing what you did is actually relevant. And it takes a lot of branding. So you could also hire a branding executive or get that in one of our trainings. That's why we have a guy with 32 years of marketing experience, because it takes a lot when you want to transition careers. It's a good question.
All right. So it appears most of the cloud jobs are outside of Africa. How does someone living in Ghana, West Africa, increase his chances of landing a high-paying cloud architect role?
Well, Heavenly Vision, I saw that earlier, and I just did a quick look in South Africa, and there are quite a few that came up. So to your point, and even more so, I believe it is in Lagos, Nigeria. AWS just opened up a brand new location there late quarter last year. So they are there. You just have to look. And I'm also took it upon myself to, if you were a student, there is a Slack channel where I'm always posting jobs from all over the world, United States, continental United States, Asia, Australia, and so forth. So we're always actively looking to help you guys flesh out your decisions on what kind of job you want to look for when you're ready. But to your point, they are there. You just have to look.
They sure are. We had someone recently get hired in South Africa. She was quite a good student. So the key is they're there, but there's also remote jobs, but you've got to be great. When if I want to live in Greece or I live in Florida, let's face it, Florida's not a tech economy. So for me to live in Florida, you got to be great. And that's the key, is you got to build yourself a really good brand. You have to be an expert in your field. You got to show the world why you're special, but you can do it.
Clements asks, in one of your videos full of advices, you recommended using professional email in a resume. Can you say more about that, the impact on the branding and a way to achieve that?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable question. So if your email is bigfatjoey@gmail.com, that's not going to be there. Going to be good for me. If your email is I like drugs@gmail.com, that's not going to work for you either. So some people have emails that are indicative of their personality or their hobbies. You don't want to do that, Clemens. Here's the thing. A really good team is going to be really diverse, because when you build a team, you really want to hire the best and brightest everywhere in the world, because there's 7 billion people, maybe even 8 billion at this point, and I want access to all of them, and I don't care where they live. So I'm going to get some people that have been from communist countries that hate communism. I'm going to be dealing with people in California that love communism. I'm going to be dealing with people from Europe and Asia and the Middle East. And when you deal with all these people from different backgrounds, you have to make them all work together. So the key is you can't have anything that shows you that you love things, because people in all different places all think differently. And it doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't matter who you have. Everybody's smart, and you want to put them all together. So you can't have anything that shows any personality for you, because I need to be open to the world. I want the world to want to like you. So don't put anything that shows your hobbies, like archer.com or iloveknives.com or anything like that. So clemens.a.gmail.com is a perfectly good professional.
Yes. Yeah, it's a part of your brand, Clemens. We had a good discussion on that Friday, and separate you have to be responsible in what you show to the world via social media and everywhere else. So, like Mike said, separate your interests. You have a email for just everyday use, where you get all your, say, for instance, Amazon latest sales posts, if you will, and then you have your professional one that you respond to with potential customers and clients that you want to know who it is, like Clemens A, Clemens.A. Whatever configuration it is, just make sure that it's something specific to what your identity is and how you want to be known professionally.
Yep, and in addition to that, it also needs to be up to date. So, like my wife, for example, she's got an email address that she has had forever. Her second email address after AOL, or no, Hotmail. So like her Hotmail email was Miss Sassy something something something. So that's obviously not one that you would want to use. But her second email was AN Pricestock, Alexandra Nicole Pricestock. So that's anpricestock@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Well, 10 years later, when she's applying for a job as Alexandra Johnson, she doesn't need or shouldn't use an email address that is not clearly representative that that's her. So she created a new email address, AN Johnson something something, because by that point, with the last name Johnson, everybody had taken all the Johnsons. So she had to add some numbers and stuff to the end of it. But just make sure it's up to date as well. In that case, like if your name has been changed, make sure your previous email used parts of your name that is no longer up to date. Make sure your email is representative of that. Because if she had applied for jobs with that email, it's possible that it might have been some confusion and they would have just said, not too confusing. I'm not sure if that's the person or that I'm thinking of. So we'll go on to the next person. So just another example of your brand and your presentation. So let's see. Who will be responsible if a cloud engineering team failed to implement the design correctly? Is the architect involved from start till end of process?
Not at all. So great question. Here's what's going to happen. An architect like me sells it. Then it gets turned over to a delivery team to go build it. And if the delivery team builds it and walks away because it's finished, the technical support people do it. If the engineering team has a problem along the way, they're going to escalate it to more senior engineers. Architects don't touch the technology. We can't guide engineers on how to fix the technology. They know more about the technology than we do. That's their focus. Our focus is on improving the business performance. So people want us to solve business problems. If the engineering team doesn't implement the design correctly, tech support people are going to go there. Now, to be fair, Mel, as an architect, you may be in there, taking people for dinner and drinks and buying steaks and lobsters and playing golf with people until the system's failed and showing them some love and bringing in some expensive scotch. That you may be doing, but you sure won't be touching the technology or guiding the engineers ever. They're more technical. They know their job. We can't be micromanaging other people and doing a job that they know better than us. They'll quit and we'll really be in trouble.
All right. It'll more than likely be handed off to a program manager, PMO office, and everything. That's totally out of the scope of what a cloud architect needs to be focused on.
I'm going to put this one up here, Mike and Alonzo. But before I do it, I'm going to put this banner up here. Thursday, we have a How to Get Your First Cloud Architect webinar. So Earl asked, what's the path for a cloud solutions architect? So if we're talking about a career path, it's cloud solutions architect or cloud architect, solution architect. That's your starting point. That's your end point to the cloud architect role. If we're talking about a development path, I'll let Mike or Alonzo decide how long they want to go on this question. And you can sign up for our How to Get Your First Cloud Job, where we talk about everything that you need to do and know to get that first cloud architect job. So wasn't sure if you're asking about career path or learning path or development path, but career path is cloud architect. That's your path.
Exactly.
So
it's just, I strongly recommend you come to our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, because Alonzo and I will spend 30 minutes there giving a presentation. He and I worked on it together. And then after that, you can ask us questions live on camera.
Yep.
But you have to learn the network and data center. BGP, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, switching, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, port channel, ether channel, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, those kind of things. DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP. NAT, one-to-one, NAT, one-to-many, NAT static, NAT dynamic, NAT. That's just some of the networking things. And then from there, you got to learn the data center things, such as servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration, storage area and networks, load balancers, firewalls, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, and business applications. That's your tech piece. Those are your tools that you use to solve a customer's business problem. But remember, people hire us for business problems and solving them. So we will train you if you're in our program, but if not, you're going to have to learn how to talk to executives, how to present to executives, how to sell to executives, how to negotiate business deals that are $1 billion, how to present at conferences, how to lead, those kind of things, how to negotiate. So those are the skills. So those are the two sets of things. Now, how do you learn that? We've got a program called the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. We're getting people their first cloud architect jobs, or even senior cloud architect jobs, or even in Wallace's case, his first job was an enterprise architect job, which is 2 levels above a cloud architect as his first job. But on Thursday, we'll have a big webinar on that. How about you, Alonzo?
Yeah, I think what you had said before. I mean, I'm trying to pull some really great things out of here, but you're very detailed in that execution, Mike. So, but one thing that I would definitely say is that when Earl Owens, like say for instance, you're going to land at Cloud Solutions Architect. If you want to go higher, then that would be a enterprise cloud architect, or even higher than that. Then that's when you're going to be doing more technical director, C-suite, higher C-suite level echelon. So start at the Cloud Solutions Architect, focus on that, build your skills up. Like Mike said, focus on the virtual data center, focus on the virtual networking, compile that into a package of understanding presentations, talking to the right people about the right things, being able to tell a story that's business transformational and friendly for them to digest, understand, and create more relationships and more discussions down the line. So I want to make sure everyone understands why there's such a need and why they're paying so much for a cloud architect, for a solutions architect, an enterprise architect, because there is a lot that you must know, and there's a lot that you must know because this is a perishable skill, meaning you have to consistently every day focused on your craft. You need to keep that proverbial edge sharp. You have to hone it every day. So making sure that your discussion is relevant, you're able to communicate effectively to the right people at the right time about the right stuff, on and off the game, off the battlefield, if you will, because you have to take these people out for drinks. You have to cater to their skill set, cater to their interests. You have to learn how to golf, maybe. And maybe you have to be so good at golf that you have to let them win so that you can. It's all a part of a overall package of you understanding strategy, technology, business acumen, presentation, being able to talk to a whole plethora of different people. So remember that this is a very demanding job, but I know everyone here has the capacity to do it.
And I took golf lessons when I moved into an enterprise architect role from a technical architect. I had no choice.
Yeah. So yeah, Anakin Cloudwalker here. A friend of mine was interviewing me at a bank recently, and the first question they asked was, "Does he play golf?"
Not
it's a sad reality.
It is.
It's
there was one thing that happened. I had there's a friend of mine, and we both know Japanese, but he did more of the business consultation facet of it. They all came to the Japanese organization and the American organization, and they were just going through the motions. It was a very bland discussion. And then someone had whispered, "Man, I just want to go for a beer." Someone overheard that, and they said, "That's a good idea." They moved the meeting over to a bar where everyone got loosed, relaxed. They closed the deal in the bar. So understanding those nuances and how this stuff can happen on and off the field, is something that you're going to learn as well.
Yeah.
It's true. And so much of that business is not done in the office. I remember one year I had spent over $100,000 on lunches at work. Well, the company gave me a corporate American Express, and I don't want to tell you what I paid for dinners that year. But that's how you build relationships. That's where business is done. It's at least half of it's done outside of the office.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, so we're getting close to the end of the questions. So if you've got any more questions, make sure to put them in the chat box so that we can get to them. So don't be shy. Put them out there. I asked for a clarification on this one, asking them what role, but I haven't gotten a response.
Yeah.
Which programming language is good to manage or use in a cloud environment?
AJ, this is going to be dependent upon the role. For example, if you're a cloud architect, you don't do programming languages. If you're a cloud engineer, you might be using Python. If you're a developer who develops things on the cloud, it's not going to be Python. So it's 100% dependent upon which career you're actually dealing with.
Yep. I completed the ACE and was AWS practitioner.
Yep.
Which path do I choose further? Should I go with Google Architect? Nope. Or stick with an AWS Solution Architect cert? Nope. Sorry, that's
get
me.
competent.
That's just me being blunt. Get competent
Yeah.
in the technology. What role do you want? So that's the first thing that you need to figure out. What role do you want to do? If you want to be an engineer or an architect or DevOps, it's going to determine what you need to become competent in. From there, regardless of which you choose, don't stick to training for vendors.
No.
Train based off industry standards. So if it's not the tech guy here, so I can't go any further past this, except just making sure that you're not learning a vendor specific piece of technology.
No.
I'll let Mike and Alonzo go farther on that one. Again, I'm the business guy. I don't know the tech stuff, so I know just enough to be dangerous.
Mike, you share, then I'll add in.
We really need to know where you're starting.
Yeah.
We have a video out there why nobody should do the AWS Cloud Practitioner, for example, or the CCP. So it all goes down to knowing what you want to be. Now, the last certifications I would ever get are Google ones for the following reasons. If you're going to get one, and Google only owns 5 to 10% of the market, getting anything with Google means 90% of employers aren't going to see it. So from a certification perspective, that's about the worst thing you could do. And I have students that say, hey, I want to get the Google one. And I'm like, look, half of these guys get hired with no certifications. But if you're going to get a certification, at least get an AWS or Azure one. Now, the key is really what you know. Now, if I did an AWS CCP, I'd probably skip the associate and go straight to the professional, because the CCP and the associate are almost the same. But the question is, what career do you want? Because, for example, if you want to be a DevOps engineer, it's a different path versus a cloud developer, which is a different path than is a cloud engineer versus a different path than an architect. And it's honestly about the same difference as the way a marathon runner would train versus Usain Bolt, the Olympic sprinter. You've got to train for your career. You can't go to one program and get multiple jobs at the same time. They don't train doctors, flight attendants, and mechanics in the same program. So figure out what you'd like to do and tell us what you want to do. And we can give you a path, but the path is always going to start with learning the technology and learning the career. And you can't learn any career in a certification in today's world.
Absolutely, Mike. Go ahead, please, Chris.
Sorry, before you respond, Tech with Minot, can you provide some more clarification to that question? All right, go Alonzo.
Please understand that I don't know, there's been a trend over the last few years that certifications are the end all to be all. I have multiple certifications in AWS, and I did take the cloud practitioner. It has little to no value if you're not utilizing it within the organization. Outside of it, it didn't help me get complete, be recognized for anything. So I definitely strongly recommend that. We always say our best example is that the agnostic cloud, consider AWS as GM, Azure is Ford, and GCP is Chrysler, and you only know how to drive that particular manufacturer, as opposed to the agnostic cloud, where we teach you how to drive not only those different brands, but tractor, trailer, trucks, anything with the steering wheel, because it's all related to the agnostic cloud, how the network is able to connect everything in the data center, whether we talk about throughput, latency, whether we're talking about IDS, IPS, how to keep bad actors out, how to manually or rather focus on load sharing, and how we're able to utilize content in every network in different areas so that we focus less on one area or emphasize a focus on access in another. These are all things that you need to learn. These are just a facet of what you need to learn as a competent cloud architect. So don't focus on the aviatrics, which I have as well. Don't focus on AWS because it's not the end all to be all. Focus on the agnostic cloud, the concepts that they themselves rest on to service customers like Netflix, Amazon themselves, and other structures. So again, focus on the competency and less on the certifications.
Exactly, because if you've got a multi-cloud network, some people would say aviatrics if they've taken a certification, but it might be the worst thing to do in the world. Maybe it's a Zscaler solution. Maybe it's a Versa solution. Maybe you need to build your own private WAN. And aviatrics is great. Versa is great. Zscaler is great. And building your own private WAN is great. But here's the thing. The best application is the one that's based upon the business needs and has nothing to do with the vendors that are trying to sell their stuff. I like aviatrics, just like I go with Versa. What problem are you trying to solve? You need to start there, long before we ever get into any tech.
All right, so next question is currently our last question. So if you've got any more, put them in the chat box. If not, then we will be wrapping up after this question. Can a cloud architect take on 2 job offers at the same time from different companies?
No.
In most cases, it's illegal, and it can land you in prison, because most of these companies are publicly traded companies that use a cloud, and you'll have non-disclosure agreements. And if you try to work for 2, you'll be in a position where you'll be fired from both, you'll never be hired again, and most likely you'll be put in prison if one of the companies catches you doing it, especially if you accidentally divulge secrets that you don't even realize you're divulging, which will happen in normal conversation. So no, not an option.
And you're going to be too busy, and you're going to have a lucrative career. So 2 things can happen. Like case in point, Deloitte, you cannot do it because a part of the language when you are onboarding is that you divulge all of your income streams. So that's one thing. Number 2, the only thing that you possibly could do, which is not what we focus on, is you become a contractor and do multiple contracts. But even then, there may be an issue with that, with a non-disclosure agreement, of which most of the time you are not able to talk about anything or work with a competitor for a minimum of 18 months.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's might seem enticing, but you're not going to succeed at it, and you're not going to be able to keep it a secret. And,
no, you're not. And you're going to burn bridges.
Yeah.
There's I forgot the acronym, but there are certain ones they blacklist you from ever going to their company again or signing up ever. So they'll ask, and these management consulting firms, they travel in circles and they talk in their circles. So if they hear your name come up, that could be an issue. So just focus on being good for one organization. And later on down the line, if you want to be a quote unquote man for hire, if that's what you want to do, and maybe there might be some industry out there where you can do that, then go ahead. But I would not try to do all of that at once. Just focus on one job and be good at it.
Be great at it.
Yes, great.
Yep. All right. Well, that was our last question so far. I want to let's see. We just had. Oh, hey! Look who popped in. Wallace.
Hey, Wallace, so good to see you.
And he is completely correct. And there is a reason that in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, the first 4 things that we talk about on our soft skills and our training, 2 of the first 4 things is trust and integrity. The other is patience and mental toughness. But those are our first 4. Wallace, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad you're here. Wallace is a working enterprise architect at JP Morgan Chase over in the UK. He was one of our amazing students that came up through our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And looks like he may have just finished dinner and popped in here probably. It's about that time.
Yep.
So we're so excited to have you pop in here, Wallace. Wallace actually joined us live last week to talk about his experience.
Yeah, we got to get that link in the chat too,
Yep.
for them to check that out.
Yep, I'm about to do that. But
Wallace, I'm thrilled to see you, just by the way.
All right, so got a couple more questions that popped in. There you go. I'll let you read that one off, Alonzo, while I'm looking for this link.
Anakin, this is from Anakin. Would you recommend skipping the CCNA and going straight for the CCNP?
I would.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't,
you're getting the competency.
Yeah.
That's the important part. So, if you've got the competency, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I'm not a big person on certification, Anakin. I'm a person on getting people great jobs. But even when I decided to take an exam, I took the Google Professional Cloud Architect one. I didn't start with a lower one. It was like, look, I'm going to prepare for a test. See, here's the thing, Anakin. They're going to make any test complicated. It can be the simplest, most basic thing in the world to the most complicated. They're going to look for some obscure way to make a test complicated, whether it's the way they write. AWS makes their test hard by writing questions in a manner that read like stereo instructions. You may be too young for stereo instructions. So they make the questions wordy. Cisco makes them complicated by asking deep technical things. But whatever the case is, no matter what, every exam is going to be challenging. So just go for the gold if you can.
And then, another thing, I think there's a trend here of being fearful. Don't stutter step your actions. Be intentional with what you want to do. If you want to be a cloud architect, don't settle for anything that shoots under that goal because you are afraid that you won't make it. Believe in yourself. That's a part of your brand. It's very important that you start, and everyone please listen, to start being confident in yourselves, because if you want people who are holding the purse strings for multi-million-dollar accounts to trust in your judgment, you have to show confidence. If you don't seem confident, I'm not very confident that you know how to do the job, and I'm going to keep that ink off of my pen, off of that checkbook or transfer of funds. So make sure that you're confident in what you want to do and what you want to be, and know that you're going to get there. And you're going to be working with people in a team who feel the same way. So it starts today. It starts with you. Get in the mirror, start affirming yourself, and let that execution show through in your work as a student, and keep doing it every day. So
he followed up with as a network cloud architect. So here's what I'd like to add in. So obviously in our program, as part of our development plan preparation, we include, what 1 or 2 certifications might you consider using. So in this case, if you want to be a network architect, that 1 or 2 should include studying the information necessary and reflected by the CCNP.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we're not trying to contradict what we're telling you to do, but if you're wanting to be a network architect, just like we talked about with, if your goal is to be a cloud architect, you're shooting for a cloud architect job. If you want to be a network architect, cloud network architect, then you should be studying in preparation for that CCNP, not just the CCNA. Study for the knowledge base and the competency that's required to show what's necessary for that, and use that as your objective to work towards. I hope that makes sense.
And Anakin, there's a big difference between an AWS certification and a Cisco certification. And here's the difference. If you do a CCNP certification, it's going to teach you how OSPF, a routing protocol, works. And it's going to teach you the messages that are sent, how the neighbors form an adjacent SIP, how it calculates the route, all the how. And that how works on Juniper routers, Cisco routers, and every other router in the entire world. AWS teaches you a name and how to configure it. That's the problem. It doesn't teach you the how. That's why a CCNP certification from start to finish is about 6,000 pages. And an AWS certified solution architect professional you can do in a 500-page book. And we've done it. So It's the depth.
All right. So Jay says, can we work in an organization and in our own small startup simultaneously? Like if I have web hosting startup and I can work as a cloud engineer in another organization? No, you're working for two employers. Even if it's your company, that's an employee. You're working for two employers. Now, if you were working as a cloud engineer in an organization and selling tchotchke items at the farmer's market on weekends, fine. Doing furniture restoration as another full-time job. Fine. Doing, I don't know, guys. Maybe website development. They could as a maybe.
I would be outside of tech. Totally out of tech.
I personally would stay completely out of tech if I
would stay out of tech altogether.
Working as a front desk agent at a hotel, sure.
AJ, you have two competing countries that are fighting. They're at war.
Yeah.
Can you work for both? Can you fight for both? No. You have to pick a side. You have to pick an organization, pour in everything. The overall, I see the overall trend here is maximizing your financial future. We get that. But if you do a great job where you are, you're going to compound it with stock options, bonuses, promotions, and so forth. So don't worry about accelerating too fast where you cancel out everything and you end up with nothing.
But and AJ, actually, I'm gonna get some document. I'm gonna bring it back. By trying to do this, you will destroy your financial future versus help it. Let me show you why you're destroying your financial future. Give me a minute.
All right, we're gonna answer another question while you're doing that. Cloud computing, yes, that's our recommendation. No reason to do the practitioner, the associate, and the professional. If you got the practitioner, just study and prepare for the professional. I'll let Mike answer this one when he comes back. I'm muting you. I can't. It's very painful, Mike. Let me know when you want to be unmuted by giving me thumbs up symbol. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. All right.
AJ,
very painful on the microphone there.
AJ, let me show you why that's the worst thing you can do. I need you to focus on one thing. AJ, I was a principal architect within 2 years of the time I started working in technology. And if you spread your energy around, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be bad at everything. Here's a principal architect's pay at Google. It's $508,000. Here's a principal architect's pay at AWS. It's $378,000. Here's a sales rep at Amazon, $330,000 a year. Here's a senior director at IBM, $400,000 a year. Here's a strategy consultant at Accenture, $400,000 a year. Here's an architect at Microsoft, $400,000 a year. Here's someone that focused on becoming a senior director at Palo Alto, $540,000. Or here's someone that's focusing on being senior director at Cisco, $527,000. So if you focus on your career, your level of earnings will be beyond anything you've tried to do. If you spend a little time trying to start a web hosting thing and then try to work as a cloud engineer, you're going to be bad at both. You just don't have enough time to be really good at more than one thing. So you want a job that pays you $500,000 in a couple of years? Get out of engineering and work in architecture. But even if you want to be an engineer, become an engineer and become the best engineer you can and work on your business acumen, your communication skills, leadership and scale skills. Become a distinguished engineer and still earn $300,000 a year. But don't be a junior engineer for 100 and then try to make and sneak out another 30 in a web hosting company. Not only are you going to get fired, but you're never going to get to your career goals.
So I thought you were finished. Sorry.
You're going to blacklist your name. You're going to be seen as the guy that's trying to do two things. Now, I know a lot of executives that are real estate businesses because it's not in tech. I even knew a guy at Cisco who had an Italian restaurant. Again, totally fine because it wasn't in tech. And he didn't manage it. He owned it and somebody else managed it because he had to focus on his tech career. So please don't destroy your career.
Here's the thing about all those numbers that Mike just threw out there. Half of that $500,000 job is your base pay. So if you're spending your extra time on a side business, you're going to lose $250,000 in potential compensation because you're not performing your best, because you're not going to receive that additional compensation, those bonuses, those all that other stuff that gets you that extra $250,000, or on the low end that extra $100,000, because you're putting your time, effort, and energy into something else that could, on a good, let's say a good year, probably as a web hosting, maybe 50 on a good year at the beginning, or and then on that 50, you got to pay all your taxes and you got to pay all your fees and all this stuff to the state and the government and the county and everything like that. But if you focused all your time, effort, and energy into the career, then you get that full amount that he just pointed out to you. But if not, then you're not getting that.
That's what you call opportunity cost. Case in point, AJ, Mike has, because of his diligent work and what he did for the industry, he was in high demand to travel everywhere to share his findings, his white paper. And because of that, his hard work for someone else became a living resume for other potential customers, and brand and reputation and everything else. And everywhere he went, people were trying to poach him, if you will. So you think about how well you could do by just focusing your work and your efforts and attention on one company. It pays good dividends in short and long term.
All right. So we got a couple of questions to get to that I couldn't answer, leaving them for Mike. To add on the skipping CCNA, is it worth reviewing anything from the CCNA?
Well, I think you're missing the point. The knowledge contained in the CCNA is valid. The certification is the meaningless piece. If you're learning IP addressing in the CCNA, guess what? It's going to be useful in the CCNP too.
Yep.
If you're learning about spanning tree, guess what? That's valid information.
Right.
If you're learning about VLAN tagging and VLAN trunking, brilliant information. Don't skip that.
Yep.
What I'm saying is, then how do you configure something isn't, if you want to be an architect, isn't relevant anyway, because we don't configure. But the knowledge of how. Look, a cloud architect needs some information from the CCNA, some information from the CCNP, and some information from the CCIE. Am I recommending that you get a CCIE? No. But I'm recommending that you learn the most critical things to be great.
Robert asked about the CCIE service provider to help the cloud architect career.
It's helpful, but the CCIE service provider is going to be focused on MPLS. Cloud architect's not going to be dealing with any label switching, any RSVP signaling, for example, or any of that. The BGP, yeah, that will be highly helpful, Roberto. Very, very helpful. But to do the CCIE service provider correctly, it's going to take you at least a year. It's probably going to cost you $30,000. And the time would much be better spent doing an MBA or focusing your business acumen or leadership, because that extra networking knowledge isn't going to do much for you. Get the BGP from the CCIE. Learn that level of BGP that was covered in, say, the Sam Halabi's or Bassam Halabi's internet routing architecture. Learn the IP addressing and IP address design that would be in a CCDE, for example. And focus on your leadership skills, your sales skills, your communication skills, Roberto. Going to do much more for you long term.
Okay, so Jay, we're not picking on you.
No, we want you to succeed.
I'm about to say something. Oh, great! I'm really sorry to ask. I didn't know that. Awesome. I'm glad you asked. Thanks. That's for inspiring. I'm glad we inspired. I will definitely work on one thing and focus on it. AWS plus GCP in my career, and will dedicate more in my work. Not AWS and GCP. No, the cloud. The cloud.
Mm-hmm.
The cloud. Learn the cloud. Learn the cloud. Learn networking and data center fundamentals. Learn cloud fundamentals, and then apply it to whatever you want to apply. Learn to drive. Don't learn to drive AWS. Don't learn to drive GCP. Learn the cloud. So again, not picking on you. We're just trying to help you as save as much time, effort, and energy as possible to reach your goals. The amount of time that you put into learning AWS and then turning around and learning GCP, just learn the cloud. Learn the cloud. And for all of those people that keep calling, we can't answer the phone right now because we're right here. So
but we will.
We will be returning calls, but we see your calls coming in.
It's super important. You can have the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional and the Google Professional Cloud Architect, and guess what? No one will ever hire you. And here's the reason they won't hire you. All of that is teaching you the name of a proprietary service and how to configure it. But it's not teaching you when you need it, why you use it, how to performance tune it. All that's missing. So learn the cloud, and then you'll know Azure, AWS, Google, Palo Alto's cloud, Dell's cloud, Cisco's cloud, IBM, and that's when you can really work.
Right. So last thing, I don't know about Telegram and WhatsApp. I'm not confident in that stuff. I'll let Alonzo look at that. Where did it go? Where did it go? Okay. Cloud computing. Ask, why do most cloud architects at AWS then recommend the progression of getting AWS CCSP or CCP, SAA, SAP, then the specialty in order? Do you want my cynical answer? My cynical answer is because they want to brainwash you and generate revenues for themselves. Why do the people at AWS try to convince people to get AWS certifications? The same reason that people at Sherwin-Williams try to convince people to buy Sherwin-Williams paint.
Mm-hmm.
It's in their best interest as a company, and nothing against this. It's nothing wrong with it, but it's in their best interest as either an AWS or an AWS partner to encourage people to do this, because they get in that ecosystem of AWS, generating revenue, job security, revenue growth.
Yeah.
That's so, again, nothing wrong with that. But on the surface, that's why everybody recommends it.
And here's the thing, cloud computing. If you do those things in order, here's what you won't learn. Real IT security. You won't learn enterprise-grade security. You won't know enterprise-grade networking. You won't know which databases to use in a multi-cloud environment. You won't know that if you use ECS, Aurora, or DynamoDB, you're stuck and your customers are in trouble. You won't know that you can't use WAF if you don't want to get hacked. You better be using a next-generation firewall. Right. And by doing this, you're going to make major mistakes. And it's going to cost millions to get out of AWS. So it's basically turning you into a sales rep for AWS. Look,
that's exactly what.
If you were at Azure, they'd be doing the same thing. But the reality is your goal to have a highly paid career, or is your goal to be a hammer where everything to you looks like a nail? Who do you think gets paid more?
Yeah.
A consultant like me that can go anywhere and work with everybody's things, or someone that says, I know how to use a hammer, hire me, I'm an expert with a hammer, I know AWS. And cloud computing, I'll give you an example. Alonzo, you're a CEO. Hey, Alonzo, how are you today?
Great, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. I hear you wanted to move to the cloud. Is that correct?
That is correct. We want to have half of our, we want a hybrid cloud execution, and was wondering if you could help us with that.
Sure. I can move you over to AWS. It's a really great cloud. You don't need that hybrid cloud anymore. We're going to stick everything in 2 availability zones. We're going to use AWS security services and AWS services. It's going to be cheaper. You excited, Alonzo?
No, I am not, Michael. We don't want to be pigeonholed into one cloud service provider and need other resources. But thank you for your time.
I'm also going to chime in here. Wasn't AWS the one that kicked the company off their platform? We don't want to be. We don't want to be in there.
Exactly.
You can go out now. We'll talk to someone else.
Now let me do it a little different. I'm going to speak to the same Alonzo. Alonzo, I heard you were considering moving to the cloud, right?
Correct, Michael.
Alonzo, how critical is security to you?
It's extremely critical, especially with the malware and ransomware that's running rampant in the industry. We need tight security.
Now, Alonzo, while we're at it, how critical is the performance of your systems? If they go down for a half an hour, can you tolerate that?
Absolutely not. That would cost us multi-million-dollar loss in revenue, and we can't afford that.
Okay, Alonzo, what I want to do is I want to baseline your systems and really see what you have. I want to talk to your team. And then I'm going to have a team of about 50 experts from the security world, the networking world, the data center world, really come together with a design. I can tell you one thing. We want to make sure you've got flexibility. So we'll be speaking to the world's greatest security people like Palo Alto, Cisco, Fortinet, and Checkpoint. We'll be dealing with the best database people, most likely Oracle. We'll also be talking to the MongoDB people as well as the Apache Cassandra people. Now, when it comes to your network, we're going to be talking to Cisco and Juniper because they're the two best in the field. For any multi-cloud things, we'll be speaking to Versa, we'll be speaking to Aviatrix, we'll be speaking to Zscaler as well. Now, I can tell you one thing, we're going to recommend that you use no proprietary services. So things like Kubernetes would be good, but none of the cloud proprietary things, because we want you to have ultimate flexibility. Now, we will be recommending 2 clouds, and we're going to try and get the cloud providers to bid against each other to see which one can give you the services cheaper. Would you like me to schedule another meeting where I can gather the information?
Absolutely, Michael. We'll definitely bring the team in for a great discussion.
And cloud computing, that's why you can't do this, because in one, I look like a hammer. Everything to me is an AWS now. In another one, I'm a trusted advisor. Alonzo, would you trust that first guy?
No, absolutely not. He seems like a lobbyist with ulterior motives, skewed in AWS's favor.
Now, that second guy, did he look like he was partial to anybody other than you?
No, he was more partial. He's partial to my needs and solution finding than anything else. So I knew he was on my team.
Oh. And you want to know a little secret, everybody? Even the senior solutions architect at AWS don't talk like the first guy.
No.
No,
they can't.
Yeah.
So even they aren't. They're not all AWS, at least when it comes to
reality.
Yeah. So,
but the people who get a bunch of certifications do act like that.
Yep. All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's been another exciting time with you. So we are out of time. I apologize. We will be on our webinar on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I just want to remind everybody that we do have that. It's Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can join us on our webinar. We're also going to be doing one next Monday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We got getting a lot of requests about doing one in the evening. So the 3 of us decided, all right, we'll give up one of our evenings with the wives, and they'll and be there for you guys and gals. So we're going to be there for you Monday evening at 7 p.m. as well, or this Thursday at 1 p.m. And of course, we'll talk about everything you need to know to become a cloud architect, and answer any questions that you might have over the course of 2 hours. We've got a presentation and then about 90 minutes worth of questions that we'll be taking. So make sure to join us for that. You don't want to miss that free opportunity for you to make sure you get started off in the right direction. So also want to remind everybody that we have our new Tech Interview Mastery program available for pre-order right now. For the first 20 orders, we have 35% off. And also for those first 20 orders, those individuals will be part of a small group of 5 live coaching group coaching sessions that will only be available for those first 20 people. After it'll be done that one time, and that's it. The Tech Interview Mastery program includes a monthly group coaching session and 3 private one-on-one consultations with our team of experts. So, but again, for those first 20 people, you'll have access to that limited series of coaching sessions. So want to make sure everybody's aware of those things, and look forward to seeing everyone on Thursday. Mike, Alonzo, any last words?
I just want you all to know that any career you desire, you can go after it. With the right training, the right preparation, nothing is impossible. Whether it was me getting my first job as a senior engineer or being a principal architect within 2 years, or whether it's Roy who got a senior solution architect job as his first tech job ever at Deloitte. He'll be making a video with you all very soon. Or Wallace, whose first enterprise architect job. Or even Tamba's first job at AWS, which was his first tech job. Or Coyote's first tech job. Or Daniel Bosu's first tech job over at JP Morgan Chase. Or Jeffrey West's first tech job over at Callian. All of you can do it. I've just given you a few examples that come to the tip of my head because these people really have made a big impact in me personally because I like them so much, and I like so many of other students as well. But you can all do it. So never let fear get in the way. Just do it, as Nike said. Build your plan, adhere to that plan, and go after your dreams. And, to get there, you're going to need training. So either get it from us or get an MBA program. And here's the thing. Nobody becomes an Olympian off of Udemy. They don't. And they don't go to the YMCA and get coaching. They hire the world's greatest strength and conditioning coaches and sports-specific coaches. And that's what we do. But whatever you do, train with us, get an MBA, focus on your leadership, focus on your business, focus on your architecture, but train to be the best. The world pays the best very differently. The world needs the best. And in a tough economy, the best get hired, the best get promoted, and they don't get laid off. So train to be the best at whatever you do.
Absolutely, Mike. We just are committed, to getting you all to your goals quickly, efficiently, and making sure that you're fully competent to get there once you land in your career job. So we always encourage you to join us. We always have we have email, we reach out. We always look for reaching out to everyone to ensure that you all know what we're doing and how we can continue to help during these webinars. So continue to join in, like and subscribe on YouTube. And we look forward to seeing you again next time.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.